Horikoshi always produces heat after a break, and this chapter is no different. It has amazing art, a funny moment, and at long last, Deku. So today we'll be breaking down chapter 366 of My Hero Academia titled Peach. Right away, we are still in the midst of our Shigaraki fight. Last we saw, he was creating meat puppets out of his family. And although that seemed to be a big deal at the end of the last chapter, that has yet to go anywhere in this one. The narration begins by stating Shigaraki's body will evolve into the most effective form. Once again, we are reminded of Garaki's Doomsday Quirk theory. It appears Shigaraki is the poster child for this. Without quirks, his body will continue to modify itself to the environment and stimuli. I wasn't expecting Garaki's theory to be so important now, but it does fit the Decay villain. Either way, the fleshy clones of his relatives are Shigaraki's new fingers. It is revealed that they act as a shield for him, very fitting considering they were born from Shigaraki's own hatred for not being saved. He's continuing to take a beating from the heroes, mentally and physically. I must admit I love this setup. Seeing him struggle and be reduced to more of a human status has been an interesting point so far. Shigaraki has had a big advantage in the fight. He has been able to force the heroes to fight him, even if that means Mirio running around on all fours. That being said, the Ultimate Evil has something up his sleeve. Before we continue, I just gotta say this has been one of my favorite chapters purely due to the art. This panel goes hard. With that out of the way, Shigaraki devises a way to protect himself, at least physically. There isn't much he can do about the mental split with Tenko. Anyhow, Shigaraki develops his ultimate form. A mass of fingers protect his face and torso, with special attention to the burned Bakugo left. In a way, the finger helmet reminds me of a knight's. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but it is certainly an intriguing parallel. I also just can't get over Shigaraki's armor. Seeing him actually try and counter the heroes goes to show this fight will be extraordinary. Plus, I didn't think we'd see Shigaraki have to go on the defensive anyway. He's been absolutely mauling the heroes until recently. The fact that he has to be somewhat protective means the tide of this fight may change, which it does, but we'll get to that later on. What matters right now is Miro's resolve. Despite the bizarre armor Shigaraki has created, she still rushes him. Her face shows a crazy expression as she tells the villain she is tired of him. Miro's determination is something to be admired. Unfortunately, her stubbornness does not pay off. Instead of landing a swift kick, Mirio is hit with a smash by Shigaraki. Truthfully, the act itself reminds me of All Might and his smash moves. Last war, Shigaraki mocked the heroes, so I can see this attack as another malicious mimic. The love tap sends Mirio flying, which Mirio sees. It is a sight that upsets him, but to be fair, Mirio has been going through it recently. He is the only hero who can get close to Shigaraki, yet he lacks the power to damage him. It's a miserable affair all around. Mirio calls out for Mirio, but it is too late. She's gotta be out of the fight for now. It's amazing she has held up for so long. Originally, I wouldn't have been surprised if she was out of the fight once she lost her other arm. However, Mirio is seriously a wild card in that respect. Though the misery for Mirio does not end there. Tamaki attempts to take on Shigaraki, which is a bad idea right now. Why? Well, just before he meets Shigaraki's attack, Sun Eater calls out for Mirio. Then he too receives a smash. Its force is enough to kick up dirt and debris. Sadly, it does not end there for the big three. As much as many of us wanted them to be significant forces in this fight, this chapter only disproves that. Not only is Tamaki taken out, but so is Nejire. She finally got back up in spite of her own stamina being drained. For a refresher, last we saw Nejire, she was still struggling to get up. Not to mention, she received a torso wound several chapters back, so she isn't doing so hot. But like everyone else there, Nejire is hell-bent on stalling Shigaraki. They have to. There is no other choice until Deku arrives. The heroes continue to take L's as Nejire's assault is in vain. Mirio calls out for her to stop, but it is too late. Shigaraki effortlessly sends her airborne like Mirio. That isn't all either. Besides the funky finger armor, it appears Shigaraki has also grown in size. Maybe his new muscular big form is meant to remind us of Spinner's monstrous transformation. After all, Spinner is dedicated to Shigaraki enough that he was willing to alter his own body. Now it is the Decay villain's turn. Speaking of, after he blew away Nejire, Shigaraki turned his back on Mirio. All the while, Shigaraki tells the Permeation hero he knows just how ineffective he is. Talk about adding insult to injury. We just talked about it, but Mirio is literally the only hero who can close in on Shigaraki. And yet, he cannot damage him. All he can really do is avoid getting hurt and watch his comrades fall. In fact, we can see exactly how upset Mirio is by all of this. He thinks that if it's just him, Shigaraki won't pay him any mind. And from there we see an uncharacteristically upset Lemillion. Mirio curses his own inability to stop Shigaraki. Meanwhile, the Decay villain continues to gloat. He once again tells the heroes to not fix something that is broken. After all this action is happening as Deadshot is giving his life for Bakugo. Will the explosive deuteragonist wake up soon? Only time will tell. Personally, I hope so. The heroes need all the help they can get right now. On top of that, Genis may be injured, but he isn't out of the fight. He charges at Shigaraki with his cables. The Denim hero realizes that Shigaraki is protecting his body now. But more importantly, he asks aloud if this is the villain's final form. I like the idea of Shigaraki having a final form, but I doubt that this is it. I think we will see several other forms. This may be the apex right now, but the apex may have to shift when there is a whole new predator involved. As we now know, Shigaraki represents the Doomsday Theory. Seeing him go through multiple evolutions would only bolster that. But anyways, let's get back to the chapter. Genis prepares a wire cage around Shigaraki. Lemillion sees this as an opportunity, so he uses his quirk to assist. He is able to land a punch, but we all know that is simply a love tap to the decay villain now. As with everything so far, it does absolutely nothing to Shigaraki. He pushes Mirio off of him and breaks free of the cables. He runs towards Genis as Mirio is confronted by the images of his fallen allies. Nejire is laying on the grass with blood coming from her head. The practically unstoppable bunny hero is in a tree. I wasn't expecting her to literally be stuck in one, but here we are. Hopefully she isn't dead. I don't think anyone is, but anything is possible with Shigaraki right now. Meanwhile, Genis is still coughing up blood and Tamaki can't even stand. Not to mention, his manifestation was broken and is strewn around him. It looks like Tamaki may be clutching his torso, so maybe there is a flesh wound there. Either way, the situation for Lemillion looks almost hopeless. His expression is nothing but anguish as he thinks back to Sir Night-Eye. What is being referenced happened quite a few chapters ago, so let's have a quick refresher. During the overhaul arc, a dying Sir Night-Eye told Mirio he would be a great hero. Finally, we see that moment. Well, what leads up to that moment? As he thinks about his mentor, the Permeation hero wonders if this is how it truly ends. And before we go on, I gotta say I have been waiting for this callback. To see it happen is certainly a dream come true for Lemillion fans all over. We all knew that Mirio would get a moment to shine due to Sir Night-Eye's quirk, so it is delightful we finally get that. Though before that, Mandalay relays an odd message. She tells the heroes that they need to lift the electromagnetic barrier, but for a short amount of time. Somehow, some way, the heroes will have to hold Shigaraki for 2 seconds. Now 2 seconds may not sound like too much here, but remember we are talking about anime time not only, but also the fact that these are superheroes or supervillains as well, so Shigaraki could just catapult himself out of there in an instant. And as such, the task feels almost impossible. He's been bodying them without a quirk, plus his body has adapted to a lack of quirks. As it stands, Shigaraki is the unstoppable big bad. He's like a natural disaster. How can you stall that? Regardless, this does not stop the heroes. Instead, Genis prepares to use his cables again. I cannot get over how determined they are. Shigaraki easily broke out of the wires the first time, yet Genis is willing to try again. They will stop at nothing, and honestly, despite how capable, competent, and powerful the villains have proven themselves to be, the heroes are still managing to sway me a bit considering how resolute they have been in their convictions and this whole underdog narrative. But alas, the cables are ripped by Shigaraki once more. He is giant and imposing. Quite frankly, his physique alone is intimidating. Even Genis believes 2 seconds is too long to hold a decay villain. He isn't wrong, but lowering the barrier can only mean one thing. Deku is coming back. It has been a long wait, but this setup is worth it. Speaking of, Mirio's expression does not change. He looks scared now. Again, it is very much unlike Lemillion. Regardless, it just goes to show how dire the situation is. Even someone who is an eternal optimist like Mirio is in turmoil. He begins to think about Shigaraki's words. The young hero feels useless and wonders what he can even do. It is a moment that shows all hope may be lost. He is racking his brain for a way to stop Shigaraki, knowing he doesn't have enough power to stall him conventionally. Then he remembers Night-Eye again and what he said. Night-Eye told Lemillion to keep smiling, which is the perfect juxtaposition as Shigaraki charges him. It appears as if he may die to stop Shigaraki. He's right in the villain's path. Plus, any hero there would give their life if it meant stalling Shigaraki even a little bit. Bakugo's death only cements that. However, Mirio also remembers Sir Night-Eye telling him a world without humor will not have a bright future. And personally, I had forgotten about this. A notion which for some may have been easily forgotten. It is something that happened a while back and it wasn't referenced until now. That being said, it is important to have these callbacks, especially for Mirio. He molded his entire cheerful personality after the belief that the world needs laughter, which is exactly what Mirio provides. And boy, let me tell you, this moment was something that caught me completely off guard. When I first saw the leaks, I must admit that I found it a bit silly. Regardless, it does fit Mirio's character and provides some relief from the tension. These last few chapters have been disaster after disaster. From Miruko's lost arm, Bakugo deciding to up and die. The heroes have been consistently taking L's. As he thinks back to his mentor, Mirio pulls off the most silly, desperate move we have seen thus far. It has been a running gag for Mirio to show people his peach, but now Shigaraki gets that view too. What I imagine may be a reference to the MCU version of Captain America having, quote, America's ass. The Permeation hero has worked out the only way he can stall Shigaraki enough, which is to show his backside saying, hey you, check out this peach. At least we know why this chapter is titled Peach. While it is a completely goofy move for Mirio, you can see he is still crying and afraid. To the longtime anime and manga fans, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that crying while showing a villain your ass has to be a new one for shonen. That being said, it does show how Mirio sees Shigaraki. Everyone views a decay villain as inhuman and the ultimate evil. Yet in another instance over the course of this fight, Mirio appealed to his humanity in this situation. Laughter is human. It is something we all do. Seeing Mirio utilize this and show he still sees Shigaraki as human is a testament to his character. Shigaraki is surprised if not amused by Mirio's action. He lets out a little laugh and we are treated to one of the 2-page spreads. As Shigaraki laughs, we see Deku finally arrive. He is in the background and there is a strange aura around him. It's reminiscent of Smokescreen, but perhaps it is too solid for that quirk. Deku is also using Black Whip as a slingshot so he can hit Shigaraki with all of his momentum. Though I will say it will be interesting to find out how Deku made his way back. Right now, the assumption is that Star and Stripe's jets gave him a ride. And if that is the case, Star's relevance persists. We then see both protagonist and antagonist coldly stare each other down. It's 2 pages of just a close-up of Deku and Shigaraki, but man, the art is fantastic. Deku is determined. Yes, the anger from the villain hunt is still there, but it is controlled and focused. He is going to use his anguish as fuel and not a hindrance. Seeing Deku like this shows how much he has grown. Meanwhile, Shigaraki's expression is hidden by his finger helmet. All we can see is the intensity of his stare, which I am looking forward to colorists bringing to life. Then we are treated to the last 2-page spread. Deku follows through with his slingshot as he launches himself at Shigaraki. He delivers a shoot-style smash. The strength of it is enough to knock Shigaraki off his feet, which is kind of a big deal. All this time, the heroes have struggled to damage him, let alone making him fall. Finally, the tides of the fight may actually be changing. In fact, the flavor text says as much. Our hero comes out swinging. Will he turn the tables? I'd hope so. The heroes really need some W's at this point. Deku arriving is almost like a beacon of hope. Though I am under the impression that Deku's arrival may mean that we will be switching to a different fight. There are so many other battles we haven't seen yet. All we've been focused on so far has been Shigaraki and All for One. While Deku's bombastic entrance is a welcome scene, it is a satisfying enough cliffhanger for me. And so I do think it is only fair that we see some other action. And if so, which fight would you guys want to see besides the Shigaraki versus Deku one? Be sure to let us know down below. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.